Hello students, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to start chapter number 9, the silk and cotton story. So here they have given a word textile. Textile means a type of cloth or woven fabric. So you wear so many types of textiles like cotton, silk, wool, right? So make dictionary cards like the one above for the word below. So you have to make dictionary cards like this in your notebook, right? So I tell you the meaning of all these words. First word is weaving. So weaving means action of forming fabric by the threads. Harvest means the act of collecting the grain or fruit or any crop. History means all the events of the past. Discover means to find out something that nobody had found yet. Last word is story. Now what do you mean by story? A description of events that happened in the past. Now the story starts. Read about the history of silk and cotton. The Empress Lizu was sipping tea seated under the cherry tree in the royal garden. So it is the story of China. There in the royal garden, their Empress Lizu was sipping tea under the cherry tree. She had walked around the garden, inspecting the flowers and the shrubs, and she was walking in the garden and side by side she was inspecting the flowers and shrubs. Now she sat inspecting the little white cylindrical object that had picked from the mulberry bushes. She take out some white cylindrical objects. Now here you can see white cylindrical objects, right? So that all those objects she picked from the mulberry bushes. They looked like little bolsters, and Lizu was sure she had not seen anything like it before. So Empress Lizu had never seen something like this in the garden. So she picked it from the garden. What happened next is undocumented, but it seems that one of these little things fell into a cup of hot tea. So next whatever happened, it is not written in the history. So what happened, that bolsters fell into the cup of hot tea. The Empress gingerly dipped her finger into the cup to scoop it out. So that Empress slowly and very carefully dipped her finger into the cup to take it out. Lizu caught a tiny bit of material sticking out of the fluffy ball and pulled it, hoping to fish the now soggy mass out of the cup. So she tried to take out the bolster, that fluffy ball, and something wet and soft came out. What happened next changed the world of textile, and whatever she found afterwards, that changed the history of the textile. A fine thread emerged from the cup. She take out a very thin, soft but very strong thread out of the cup. It was thin enough to be near visible, but it was strong enough to not break. It was like it was near invisible, almost invisible thread, but it was very strong. She couldn't break it. Lizu wound the thread around her finger and kept unraveling the little white bolster. She what she did with the thread, She collected the thread around her finger and tried to untangle the thread if there is any tangle in the thread. So she had in her hand the softest, tiniest bunch of threads she had ever seen. So she had never seen a thread like this. So then she had the softest and strongest thread in the world. Empress Lizu had just discovered silk. So she discovered silk thread that day. Silk is a natural protein fiber created by the larvae to make its cocoon. So what is silk? Silk is a natural protein fiber which we take out from the cocoon, and cocoon is made by the larvae. Now let's understood the cycle of silk thread. So here we have silk butterfly which gives silkworm eggs. Then the silkworm eggs become silkworm larvae and they produce silkworm cocoon. And from cocoon we take out silk thread. Spider, silverfish, beetle, flies all create protein fibers. All these insects create protein fibers. The silk we use for textiles comes from the silkworm Bombyx mori. So there is a special type of silkworm that is called Bombyx mori, and this silkworm gives us the silk textile which we are using these days. China kept its knowledge of silk a closely guarded secret. So China was keeping this secret from the whole world. Royal law prevented anyone from carrying silkworm outside the country. So they made a law that nobody will carry silkworm outside the country because they wanted to get the profit out of it. In China, silk thread and the fabric woven with it became a valuable that they were treating as currency. So silk thread was treated as a currency in China at that time. And the trade route from China to the rest of the world was called the Silk Route due to the huge amount of silk that was transported to be sold in nations far and wide. At that time, the silk was traded by the China to rest of the world, and that particular route was also called Silk Route. Legends say that Japan managed to steal silkworms and the process of making the fabric from China. So Japan was the second country who managed to steal silkworms and the process of making fabrics from China. Cotton is truly a yarn that binds humanity. So cotton, now the story of cotton they have explained in the chapter. Cotton is that thread which binds all the humans of the world. In these years, cotton is truly a yarn that binds humanity. So cotton is that thread which binds humanity, all the humans of the world. In the years from before history, civilization across the world who had no connection with each other were weaving cotton in very similar way. So before history, before the societies of the world were made, in all those societies, if they don't have the connections with each other, then also the weaving process of cotton was very similar in all the civilizations at that time. No one knows how cotton was discovered. So in our history, it is not mentioned how the cotton was discovered, but sometime when cavemen decided to move to agriculture, they started to grow the wild cotton tree in farms. So it is believed that cavemen means early men, when they started agriculture, when they started growing plants, they started growing wild cotton trees in their farm. So, what is cotton? Cotton is a soft, fluffy fiber that grows in a ball or a protective case around the seed of cotton plant. So, on cotton plant there are cotton plant seeds. Around the seeds there is soft, fluffy cotton ball. This makes it a relative of other popular plants like hibiscus. So cotton plants and hibiscus plant, they have the similarity. The way they grow the flowers in the case of cotton plant and hibiscus plant, they grow the flower in same way. The cotton balls help the seeds to disperse far and wide. So this plant helps the uh, whole this plant, cotton plant, helps the seeds to spread here and there in the field, and it grows itself. We think of cotton as a white absorbent material, but pure cotton is neither white nor absorbent. So cotton is basically an absorbent plant, absorbent material, right? It absorbs liquid, but the pure cotton is not white, it is off white. If we see the cotton plant, it is not the cotton on it is not pure white, it is off white, and it is not absorbent. That is because nature provides a protective coat of oil so that it does not get wet and rot in the fields. So, nature has provided a protective coating of oil on the cotton plant so it doesn't get wet when it rain, and it doesn't destroy in the field. When the cotton thread or yarn is processed for weaving, the natural oils are removed. But before making the fabric, the natural oil is removed from the thread or the yarn. The earliest evidence of cotton thread and the fabric is seen in Asia. First of all, we have seen cotton plant, cotton thread, cotton fabric in Asia. When the fabric reached Europe, everyone was impressed with the softness and the breathability of the fabric. So in Europe, everyone was very impressed with the softness and the breathability of the fabric. They thought it was some form of wool. Initial stage, they thought it was a kind of wool. In fact, at first, many Europeans imagined that cotton came from magical trees that had little sheep growing on its branches. So they started believing that cotton grow on a magical tree, and that magical tree has little sheeps on it, and by all those sheeps we are getting the cotton. But it was not like that. Basically we have a cotton plant to grow the cotton. As demand for cotton grew, so did technology and invention. So at that time the demand of cotton was also increasing, and it was the time of technology and inventions. In fact, it was the invention of machines to improve cotton production that led to the first industrial revolution in Europe. So at that time people were inventing new machines to improve the cotton production, and that was also the era of first industrial revolution in Europe. This was when many factories were set up and large scale production of goods began. So at that time they were setting up the new factories, and large scale of production of different goods began in Europe. This was also when new cities became established. New cities were made at that time, and human activities moved away from villages to urban centers. So people were leaving the villages and they were coming to urban centers and cities. So this is the story about silk and cotton.